Terrific. Good morning. I'm Bob Gill. Just a little bit of background. I was born in Boston, so Teresa, I know the Boston school system quite well. Lived here all my life. Been married for many years. 3 sons. I've got 6 grandchildren. I've been in real estate for 25 years. KW. I've been here for 12 years. I'm a high D. If you know anybody familiar with disc profile. I'm what they call a high DI, someone that is very driven, results, bottom line oriented, but I have a high I, which is I like to interact with people. So in terms of this whole subject of rapport, I tend to do that naturally. I work with people and I like people, I like to interact. My passion through the years is to really help people achieve their dreams. I can say that for my clients, and if you ask any of my team members, they'll let you know that's Bob's #1 priority. But just across the board, I work in non-for-profit areas. I do a variety of things, but that's really my passion in life. I've had a number of careers and learned a lot, and it's time to give back. And that's one of the reasons I decided to do this one here. And so what I'd like to suggest as we go through this, as you, I didn't see, the hand here to raise hands for questions. So if anybody has any questions, anything to contribute, just put it in the chat box. In fact, let me just open the chat box here. 1 minute here. Okay, there should be a chat
Bob,
box.
I'd be happy to monitor the chat box for you and let you know when you have questions.
Oh, that's Suzanne from my team.
Hello. Yep.
So, yeah, somebody chatted already. Oh, terrific. Okay, you can see that, Suzanne, yes?
Yes, I can.
Oh, perfect. One last thing I have to do. I love it. Thank you. So let me just get back and so I can concentrate here. Terrific. What I was doing, if you knew, Teresa, for you and for Suzanne, if you can control the slides also, they keep moving on me. You able to do that?
I can and share my screen. Sure.
Yeah, do that.
It'll just take me a moment.
Yeah. So let me just get it up here. Sorry about this thing here. So Teresa and Giancarlo, I know an awful lot about you guys already. I don't know everything, but what I did was I engaged you. First thing I wanted to do is just to learn a bit about you. And that's part of it. There's a technique to doing it, to do it really well, but I was just doing that in the time. So that's constantly what I do. My first priority is always to, no matter who I'm working with or who I'm interacting with for whatever reason, if I have an interest in someone, beyond a casual hello, I'll begin to develop rapport. So I can know more about them, they can know more about me, and we can have some kind of common ground to work from. So let me tell you why I decided to offer this webinar. It's a first. I offered to do it because it's important. What I found is that I hear so many issues that go on in our office and through the real estate network, where there's lots of issues with communication between agents, clients, lenders, attorneys, management companies, home inspectors, and it's getting worse. Kathy Arnold from my director of operations is constantly on the phone and meeting with people from a variety, and she said, Bob, it's getting tougher and tougher. And the question is, why? There's a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons that I believe because it's a very tense environment, there's so much going on, what I think is that what's missing is that we haven't taken the time to build rapport with the people we're communicating with. And I'll get into more about how I define rapport, but it's that. And what's really important, and I totally believe it, is that it's probably the most important thing as soon as you engage with, whether it's a client, a prospect, anybody, we'll be talking specifically about, real estate clients and prospects, is that if we can develop some kind of relationship with the person on the other side early in the process, the transaction will go smoother. I believe that because I do it naturally. And that's what I find that allows me to do things differently than many people. Suzanne, could I have a slide? Thank you.
I'm not able to share my screen, Bob. I think you're going to have to do it. Yeah.
I can use you, sure. Okay.
Suzanne, when you click on share screen, what does it say in the pop-up?
It says host disabled attendee screen sharing.
Okay. When was the last time you tried that?
Just now.
Okay.
I could do it for now. Yeah.
Okay.
It'll fumble a bit. We're okay there.
Try it now. I'm just sorry. I'm trying to click around.
There we go. Yep, I got it.
All right, cool.
Thank you.
Nope.
Yeah. Everybody should have help there. Right.
There we go.
Thank you,
How's that?
Suzanne.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Alyssa.
No problem, Bob. Anytime.
So, let's get on a couple of slides here. What we'll cover today. Next slide, please. So what we're going to cover, the what, the why, the how, and the when. We'll say, what is rapport, just in a broad sense across a variety of spectrum. Why is it important? And we're going to talk specifically about in real estate, specifically about how it's used to achieve your objectives, working with prospects and clients. Going to give you some general guidelines to how to build rapport, some techniques. I've just done some searching. I've looked in KW Connect, look at all of our material. Haven't found anything specific on rapport, although Steve and Tammy who run the NER group, Never Ending Referral Group, I sent them off an email asking for any material on it, and his response was no. He said you could certainly, Ford is a good technique. He says, but Bob, you've hit on something that doesn't exist anything at the moment. And he said, over the holiday, he said, I'm going to develop a video on rapport. So it's a subject that people recognize, but in itself hasn't been talked about. And so I'll give you those. My intention is not to teach techniques. It's more today to create some awareness of the importance of developing rapport and how to do it. And it takes practice. It's like scripts. You practice scripts. Second, and while develop rapport, creating rapport is not scripts. It's a dialogue, but you need to practice it. Suzanne, can you put us on to the next slide? So while she's getting to the next slide, so rapport, what is rapport? I pulled it out of the dictionary. Dictionary says it's friendly, it's a harmonious relationship. It's really a relationship where there's some agreement, mutual understanding, empathy that makes communication. And that's where I was in my original comments about communication, throughout the entire transaction of buying and selling. It's going to make it not just easy, but better. Rapport is a coded word, but it's really, here's a number of synonyms: harmony, union, fellowship, empathy, compatibility. It's making a connection. That's where I use it. Is I always look to try to make a connection to an individual where I want to form some ongoing relationship. Next slide, please. Let's get right down to real estate. From everything that I have found and experienced, the objective in real estate is to get clients and prospects to do business with us. And there are four things that are critical. Number one is they need to trust you. Your client, different between client and prospect because there's different phases of it. And I'll talk about a couple of examples, but they need to know that their interest is your number one priority and that you have a track record, of success in doing that. And you go over and above to serve them. I'll just tell you, I say to all my clients, this is my opening statement is at some point in time, my priority is to serve you. It's not about the money. It's not about the sale. It's not about my commission. If I do a good job, if I serve you, I will get paid and paid well. And when I do that, I meant to set a tone, and I believe it is not about the money. And if I don't do well, I shouldn't get paid. And that begins. That's for me. That's a way, and I can do it. And I can say that because I'm not in this business, at this point in my career because of the money. Money's great, but it's for another reason. So I can say it. So for each of us, need to find out what is it about you in your dialogue, in your discussion with your clients that will get them to trust you. Second piece of it is believing in you. Believing in you is that what you tell them is accurate, and that's about facts and about truth. Is that what you tell them is not sugar-coated. And I'm going to, again, I have an example in a minute I'll give you that talks about this, but it's about giving the facts that support what you tell them. And in terms of, and facts is what's the market doing in this particular area? How much a house is appreciating or depreciating? Giving them an honest opinion about the probability of them finding a home in an area that they're interested in, or being able to sell a home at the price that they think they're going to get. So it's about believing in you. And last, interesting, is you say, well, why that they like you? They don't need to be in love with you, but they need to enjoy working with you. And I've seen cases where that piece was missing. And I've seen where you'll get a buyer, often happens with a buyer, get a buyer, you end up meeting them, never develop a rapport, go out and show a property. They actually put an offer on a property, they didn't get it. Suddenly the buyer disappeared. They disappear and you ask why. I follow up on some of this and get out of it is because they say, well, I know a number of other agents. They don't typically say something, derogatory about the agent. And by the way, I've had cases where I found someone, I wasn't a fit for somebody, and that's okay. What I often do is work with my wife, Jenny, and so often because two very different people. And so they kind of see they have some choices there. But I've seen it happen, and it's because you haven't, the agent either hasn't got them to feel like they trust you, that you're truly interested in their interests, number one, or they don't feel like you have the experience that can provide the facts, and you're just nothing. You're just, you're a commodity. Very, very important about it. And the other part of it is, so this is specifically real estate, but this whole idea of building rapport applies to developing rapport with your children, with your colleagues. That's so important, so important. And the colleagues mean everybody in the whole process. So often, I find a reason that I have a rough road with, particularly with a co-broke, is if there's not rapport there, and the more I know about them, they could be tough to work with, but then I play on that and say, how do I operate so that this will go smoothly? You can use it if you can use it on, on patients, you can use it on healthcare workers. obviously, I constantly doing it. You can use it with your probation officer. I don't think anybody has that. But so it has a wide application. And I just use it all over, but this is specifically in real estate. Stop. What's any thoughts on this? And feel free if you want to get unmuted. Suzanne, any comments or anybody want to get unmuted to any thoughts about this?
I think you're 100% correct when you say that. I mean, even when you started off by asking us who we were, and I'm thinking, wow, I grew up in Boston too. I have a connection there.
Yeah.
And you sounded sincerely interested in where I had come from.
Yeah. And I am, by the way.
Background.
I just am.
Yeah.
Just because I like people. I like to, and I don't know, we might do business together. I've always looked at it. Where's the opportunity? So, okay. Thanks, Teresa. That's helpful.
I liked that.
Anybody else?
There's no other questions in the chat at this time.
Anybody
So I
can?
just wanted to say, I'm on Bob's team, and I completely agree. And I'm definitely not a high D. I know Bob is. That's his personality. So when I'm around him, we're doing open houses together. We have completely different approaches, and I have to kind of learn from him. And because I'm more of an SC, I would say, I'm not as natural at developing rapport as Bob may be. So I've been learning from him, and I'm watching him. And the way he does it is exactly like he said. When he introduced himself at this meeting, he just kind of generally wants to know how people are, how they're doing, how he can connect with them. And I'm trying to learn that as well, because my personality is definitely not the same as Bob's, but he's right on with his assessment.
Thanks, Matt. By the way, it's not my high D. My high D can get me into trouble. My high D is impatience, need to get to the bottom line. And so it's my I have a particularly high I, that intuitive, interactive, and that's what keeps me grounded. And because I think it's important, so it's the both of them. Yeah, thanks, Matthew. Suzanne, next slide, please. No, go back. Go back in the other one. The handshake. The handshake. So that's where it's out. It's about doing business with each other. That's in our case is in real estate. That's why you want to develop rapport, so you can get that prospect to be comfortable working with you on the phone. And it's tough. You got a balance there between trying to get them to meet you as an appointment, and so there's a balance there, and you got to know who you work with. But on that one there. It's that. So I want to give you an example. And Matthew can relate to this. I didn't know you were on, Matthew, but I will. So several days ago, and this is just one of many. Matthew does a lot of lead generation. I do all the listings. So Matthew is lead generating and get an expired listing. You call an expired listing in Boston. It was a young couple. The condo was on for 160 days. And it didn't sell, it came off. They got very little activity. And so Matthew's job was to get an appointment. It was quite obvious from the conversation. Matthew said that when he had with me, he said, gee, problem is that from what they could see, they dropped their price. Boy, it was probably 75,000, got to the point where they were still way above the market value today in what they owed. So if they were to sell, they probably could not even break even. And so Matthew could have said, okay, sorry, we can't help you. But what Matthew got from the conversation was that their next move, their motivation is they want to sell, they want to get some net profit out of there, and they wanted to buy a single family out of town in the $900,000 category. Matthew said, well, nothing to lose. There's no listing appointment here, he said, because they're stuck. He said, but it might be worth a consult. I got on the phone with them and had the first thing is just a phone consult. And here's what came out of it. I understood, and I came from contribution. And Matthew said, you ought to talk to Bob. Bob, pretty good at problem solving. talk to him. And I knew the dilemma. I absolutely knew the dilemma. And I went to them and I said, you know, your option is here. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Your option is to sell it, maybe break even, or potentially even take a loss. You'll take a loss, young kids there. I said, you know, you got to think about what happens if you don't sell it. You sit on it, rentals are down, you can't. So I spent the time giving them some advice, giving them some facts, and they appreciated it. They absolutely appreciated that I was upfront with them, that I didn't try to sugarcoat it. And he commented, and I said, Bob, I really appreciate this, that you are absolutely, I don't like the message, but it was there. I was building rapport. I continued on and come to find out, in Boston, come to find out the husband, I guess, no, they were, I guess, boyfriend, I guess they're engaged. He's an electrical engineer. I'm an electrical engineer. He went to Northeastern University. I went to Northeastern University. His girlfriend lives with him, works at Northeastern University in training. There was a connection. I'm from Boston, and while they came from other areas, Boston's there, they've been in Boston years. It was just another small connection. It was a piece of it that got grounded. So then I said to them, I said, maybe a long shot. I said, I've got a thought. I said, I looked at this and I think there's another opportunity here. I said, you know, could I meet with you? They said, come down and meet. I went and met with them the other night. And because of my background, I got a background in building and engineering. I said to them, I said, I looked at your property here and there is no way you can get more than break even here. I said, but your property is larger than most it's a 1-bedroom property. You could add a 2nd bedroom to this. I said, think you can do this. They gave me all the plans and we sat and they looked at it and they said, you know what? I said, did anybody come in who looked at the property ever mention that? And they said, well, we never had enough people in there. She said, but by the way, when we bought it way back, the agent who sold it to us said to us, gee, just to let you know, this is a possibility. You could expand it. It turns out that if they did that, if they converted it, very, very small expense, they could recover, they could come in with a net profit. We're going to get the listing. And the girlfriend said, even if we weren't to sell it, it's such a great idea, we'd like to do it anyways. So we're going down that path. My point of all of this is it all happened because of the conversation, one that Matthew first had, then that I had, and ultimately meeting them. And we went face to face, and it was a good fit. That's one just of so many examples of how you can use this developer report, get people to trust you, to believe in you, and like you. And he actually said to me as we were sitting there, he said, Bob, you got to tell me about your back. You're going to tell me about yourself. He just said, Bob, tell me about yourself, because what you have sounds good here, but why, how can you do it? I just went back and I said, here's my background. Here's my education. Here's my training. Here's my experience in these areas. He said, Bob, that's great. And they're committed to it. It's, so I had some skills, but really the most skill was I was honest. And by the way, I was problem solving. Which is such an important aspect of this business, to be able to find solutions. Just an example. Anything so has anybody had that kind of situation? Do you do that in your normal course of interaction? And it's difficult when you're lead generating, because you're on a phone with someone, it works much better with people that you already know, or you have some kind of a relationship or a referral from someone. But when you're on the phone, Matthew knows it as well as any, they're just trying to get you off the phone and to be trying to develop some kind of relationship at the same time, try to get an appointment is the struggle. So it's a balance. Anybody have any experience with something like I talked about, even simple? No, I don't want to stop cloud reporting. Anybody? Are we on the right track? Is this useful? Suzanne, next slide, please. So, by the way, for any of this information, if you want a copy, if you want a copy of these slides, if you would like these references, for instance, these couple of slides here, I just went in, did a Google search, and I found a report that was done by the RAIN group on ways to build rapport. I looked at it and I go, this makes sense to me. And so as I looked at these are some techniques. What's interesting here is that on the phone, you can't do all of it. Thank God for Zoom, because Zoom to me is as close as you can be to face. I mean, you are. Some of the language you miss, but it's good. And what I see is the next evolution is that we can find ways to develop rapport in our text messaging and our emails. That's the next opportunity. But right now, as we hit here on Zoom and other video technology, you can do it. So come on, be yourself, be relaxed, smile. You can't do that on a phone call, I don't think. And just be positive. Part of it is be positive. Be friendly, make eye contact, and of course, difficult to do unless you're in a Zoom or face-to-face. You want to show interest in the other person but being very careful not to be over friendly, too pushy. So, I mean, it's a genuine, and the way I do it is by asking questions. And sometimes there's not a connection. I mean, continue, and it happens. You begin to find out the areas where there are, let's say, there's common ground, which is people like to work with people that are often similar to themselves. So that's the common ground. The schools you went to, the social groups you belong to, you're in, the industry you work into. What's the connection? It's a similar technique to when you're writing a love letter, or a letter accompanying an offer, where you want to make that's an example. In fact, that's an email example of how to develop rapport on some level with a buyer. Kathy Arnold, who's on the phone now, my director of operations, is amazing at writing love letters. And the way you do it is that, so it's most often I'm a buyer, agent, we're putting an offer in. If I can emotionally connect with a seller at some level, it's better than having no relationship. I will research them. I will look in LinkedIn. I'll look in Facebook. I will search anything I can about them. When we're doing the house showing, I'll find out if there's any evidence of where they went to school, pictures, things like that, and we will put that into call it a love letter, so that it's not going to make all the difference, but it can help. And I've seen cases where it will help, all things being equal. The fact that you both went to to Boston College and went to graduate school at the same graduate school, it helps. Suzanne, next slide, please. Calibrate. Do the best. You got to read the other person and figure out how much kind of rapport-focused conversation you can have, especially true when you're lead generating and you're on the phone with someone and question, how much time will they spend on, with you getting to know them? And the other part of it is the culture. You got to figure out who that other person is. If they're a high D, it's going to be a struggle. If they're an I or even an SC, there's a chance that they'll just want to drill down into this. So you've got to kind of get a sense of that, and you got to be careful not to force it. And the last is giving genuine compliments. And I mean genuine, that's the key to it there. What do you like about it? Based on the conversation, what came up for you that was likable, that you can offer, a compliment. I mean, it could be as good as I've said to people, well, while I just to be honest, while I'm not sure that I can, provide what you need, I really appreciate your honesty. Just whatever it's going to take to make them feel like that you respect what they say. So if you want copy, just in the chat box, just stick your. No, actually, better this will get wiped out. Better, my email is on the front, bob.gill@kw.com. Just shoot me an email if you want copies of anything or these, because there's a whole article on building rapport from the RAIN group. Suzanne, could you take us to the Ford technique?
Yes, I've also added your email into the chat.
Oh, thanks. So a technique, and it's I've only heard it through webinars and training they've done through Keller Williams, and it's called the FORD. It's an acronym. Now it's not a script. You can't script this, although it's a dialogue, and it requires some active listening on your part to make it effective. And it requires practice. So it's not a script. You've got to practice with this one here, and that's the way to do it. So let's just go through, and it's one where, and it's a technique for not so much for lead generating when you're making cold calls. Well, you can get some of it, but it's so much where you're trying to. Let's just say you're looking for referrals, you're talking to your sphere, for instance. And this is just an example of questions to ask, and it's not always appropriate. So let's just say it's someone from my sphere. What I start with when I contact my sphere, the first thing I say, whether it's in an email or it is in a phone call or face-to-face, which is rare, first thing I say, hey, I hope you and your family are healthy and safe. I mean, that's essentially the first thing here. And that's something that's universal. I find is people come back and say, geez, Bob, thanks for asking. So that's one. There's other things there, you don't, some of these other questions really are helpful if you can begin, and don't use these as the specific questions, but these are just general questions can be used. But think about some of these questions about where you're originally from, where's your family now, the activities of your kids. When you're talking to prospects, you're talking to clients, this is the kind of information you're looking to gather from them to help figure out their needs and wants, is to qualify them, to make sure that you're on track with the motivation. So think of this as, these are the questions. I mean, I assume most use an intake sheet when you're doing a phone interview, that you build it into that. So instead of sitting in on listening, go, okay, so I need to collect a little information. Can you tell me a bit about, where you're from, how long you've been here, what are you looking for a house? How many bedrooms? Can you tell me, geez, so we know, about your family. If you can do it conversationally, it just feels more natural, and you're building rapport. So F is one. Second one is the O. Suzanne, if you could flip it there, occupation. I use this all the time to find common ground. I use it. I mean, it's relevant in when you're lead generating or working with a client, because you want to know, first, their occupation. You learn a bit about the individual, but then you want to know, so where do they work? But I use it primarily to find common ground. If you look at, and I can use this, I would say 80-90% successful in finding common ground with this, because my background, I've got early background in engineering. I've worked at senior management in corporations. I've got a building background, ran a management consulting company. I'm a real estate agent. I work in I do work in non-for-profit, which is something that people find interesting. So I can so often make it. So you want to begin to ask the questions and do it appropriately. Again, it's a conversation. It's figure out what the leading question is based on the situation, and then just keep building on it. Third one, recreation. And again, this serves a couple of purposes here. One, obviously, to understand needs and wants. This is something you do, and you can, by the way, use it as you're working with someone to do home searches about, so what do you do on weekends? This is a good time to go and look at open houses, but so tell me, what's it like? You can learn, a bit about their background, their vacations, if you think they're movie buff, any good movies, so weekends. So it's really beginning to get more information about kind of them as an individual from a variety of aspects. And the last is their dreams. And it could be, again, it's situational. Plans for the summer. What are your son's plans after graduation? What that tells you a bit about when people are shopping without exactly. You learn about, gee, are they gonna, how many people are in the household now? How many people will be there? Ask them, what's in your bucket list? And it's really situational, but it's an opportunity, just to connect with people kind of from a variety, from their family, and it doesn't have to be in order, but just you gotta almost have a cheat sheet there, and knowing the categories. It's a family, about their occupation, about their recreation, about their dreams. And when you have that, it's a technique. Again, this is a technique for developing rapport. Questions? Any questions? Suzanne, why don't you just unmute everybody? Can you unmute?
I can't do that. You might be able to do
I
that from your
can.
end.
I
Yep.
can. No, I can.
I wonder if it would be helpful for people to do an example with somebody on the call of how you might use that Ford technique, if other people think that would be useful.
Yeah, someone interested in having a conversation with me, you could forward me. Who's up for it? Margaret, are you up for it? I don't want to put you on the spot, Margaret.
Good morning, Bob. I
Good
just
morning.
got off a phone call, so I know you were having some conversation with your potential client.
So can you first, Margaret, can you share your screen?
Yes,
Share your screen, share
apologize.
your video. So I can say hello to you.
Good morning.
Good morning, good to see you. It's been a while since Bold.
Yes, oh my gosh, almost a year. How about that?
Time flies here. So
What
you
a
don't have to
year.
worry. So what's been going on with you?
Well, I've been keeping busy and staying COVID-free. Getting some stuff down around my house, and it's been a weird year. My daughter
Yeah.
got COVID.
Say again, who did?
My daughter,
Oh, that was my question. I was going to ask, is your family healthy and safe? And so she has it. Did she get through it?
she did, and she's doing well. Although it seems like she might be having some after effects. It's been a couple of months, but she's been complaining of chest pains now. So we're,
Oh.
waiting for a doctor. So
So sorry to hear, boy. This is.
thank you. I know it's,
Oh,
and she's
geez,
young. She's 20 years old. So
Well, I'm going to give it just a quick one.
yes.
Last weekend, last weekend, Ginny and I celebrated a big anniversary, and we had our family coming in. It was tough. We went to the church. We're going to have did our wedding vows.
Nice.
Had all three sons are all coming in. Actually, two of the three. One of them, one of my daughter was high risk. My middle son Stephen and his family from New Jersey, driving into Boston, and because of the high risk, and they come across the border. Stephen decided he and his family would get COVID tested before they came. They got the test coming. They did it there. They were on there. They called at 4 o'clock on Friday. They were halfway. They were in Connecticut. Dad, hi Steve. We got a little problem here. We just got a call from the doctor. Both myself and my son Matt Aiden tested positive.
Wow.
On the way to see us for the weekend. They're asymptomatic, no issues. This has now been 4 or 5 days, okay, but they're carriers. And so I finally understood it, but they're okay. So boy, did that scare us for a bit.
Yeah,
So-
I think the next few weeks we just really have to kind of
Yeah.
tighten
Yeah.
up and be really. So honestly, I've just kind of. I know a lot of people have been doing a lot of business in the past couple, 8 months and stuff. I've been a little bit quiet, and I'm just, I'm just kind of gearing up and feeling like I'm starting 2021 over again, and just
No,
taking that approach, because I do feel like I kind of missed a step or two along, 2020, but it's just been a really kind of a roller coaster year for me personally.
had priorities.
Yeah.
So family, good, and work. You took the break. Maybe that's what you needed, ready to roll up, because it's going to be like this. That's what I hear. Nothing major. So assume is it? Assume it's going to be the same to figure it out.
Yeah.
Are you doing anything for fun?
I do. I live in South Boston, so I walk the island or out towards UMass Boston. So I do try to get out to do 5 or 6 miles a day, and
Ooh,
I practice yoga. I like to cook, and I do look after my 88-year-old mother. So that's another reason. I do have buyers. I do have active buyers, and I will say I am out with them.
Okay. Good.
But it's been tough. It's been tough. Putting in these crazy over asking cash buyers and just still not getting them. So
And tell me what's your hope for next year? What's your hope for 2021 in terms of your if you could have a dream, what would it be? What would it be for 2021?
just be a little bit more consistent with my work patterns.
Perfect.
And just in all honesty, just sitting down and doing the work.
Great.
The work. Yeah.
Margaret, it's I knew it, but until I saw the face, I didn't catch Margaret Hurley.
Yes.
Same
See
table.
you.
It was really good. Good to see you.
You too, Bob. Thanks for doing this. And, I just saw automatically, I was like, there are some buyers that exactly what you said earlier, that, you put in a few offers and then they start looking at you like, well, why am I not getting these offers? So,
What's unique about you? Yeah, exactly right.
yeah, exactly. So I do have some buyers that, we have put in 4 or 5 offers over asking, and but they understand the situation, and I'm showing them data. So they're still with me, and
Good.
they understand what the market is. So
Good.
I think you just have to be honest and professional and just keep with them.
Thanks, Margaret. This is great. So what we did, Margaret, we just went through the Ford. We just went through the Ford technique. Family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. And so I know. Yeah, that's terrific. Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Bob.
Anybody else, any other comments here? Any thoughts? Useful? Anything more? First time I've done this thing here. I didn't have a script. I didn't have a template, and I just did a little research and wrote it up. And is this? I love to know. Just get a little feedback. Is this useful? Is it worth doing? I'll find out. I'll find out from the office if it is, and I'd be glad to do it. I'd like to take this to the next level. And I do scripts, but I hate role playing, but doing scripts around situation, but I love this one here, so I'd love to do it. Maybe offer this to the office there.
Teresa says it was great and she loved it.
Terrific. Okay. That's it. Thanks everybody for participating. I hope you got something out of it, and shoot, again, you got my email, shoot me an email if you want any of the resource information. Be glad to do it.
That was
Okay.
great. Thank you.
Thanks, Teresa.
Now I'm curious, where in Boston did you grow up?
Oh, I grew up in Rosendale.
Oh, okay.
I grew up Rosendale down on South Street, Lower South Street by the Arnold Arboretum.
Okay.
Where did you grow up?
I'm a Dorchester girl.
Okay.
St. Gregory's. Yeah.
Yeah, and I went to school in Boston. I went to parochial school in Forest Hills, and
Likewise.
Catholic Memorial, boys' school in
Mhm.
West Roxbury, Northeastern University, Suffolk University. So I'm a Boston boy. Travel, and I've never left. Well, we've moved 14 times.
Yeah.
Within 10 miles, but we're almost back home. We're back in Brookline. Anyways,
Nice.
yeah, that's just good here. I have to, let's connect one day in the office. That's just great. And where do you do most of your business? Do you do most of your work on the South Shore now?
Yes, so far. I did have one in Walpole, but most everything is South Shore.
Go where the business is. Go wherever the business is.
Exactly.
Thank
Thank you for this.
Teresa.
This was great.
Okay, talk.
Nice to meet you.
soon.
Thank
know.
you.